The Western media has barely touched this story, and when they did, they framed it backwards. Russia formalized a nuclear cooperation agreement with Namibia. Not a speech, not a summit photo, an infrastructure move. So while Washington is still drafting strategic memos about energy transitions, Russia's nuclear sector is already moving engineers, training pipelines, and fuel cycle logistics into place. But let me be very clear from the start. This is not about replacing one dependency with another. Russia is not the destination. Russia is a shortcut. Namibia didn't sign up for symbolism. They signed up for speed, knowledge transfer, and control over time, with one objective in mind: African-built, African-run nuclear power, with or without foreign partners. So Africa isn't outsourcing its future, it's accelerating towards ownership. Russia may help pour the concrete, but the blueprint belongs to us. And remember, this channel exists for Africa First stories the Western media ignores. We don't chase headlines, we chase the truth. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why Namibia's uranium move isn't about Russia at all. It's about Africa's next industrial layer.
Russia is deepening its push into Africa's energy sector. And right now, its focus is on Namibia, the world's third largest uranium producer. This week, talks between Windhoek and Moscow moved a step closer, as both sides advanced towards a nuclear deal framed as peaceful but strategic. In Moscow, a Namibian delegation met senior officials from Russia's state nuclear giant Rosatom. Rosatom says both sides agreed to speed up work on a formal nuclear cooperation agreement. That deal would reportedly create the legal framework for joint nuclear energy projects.
During the meeting, prospects for cooperation in the field of the peaceful use of nuclear energy were discussed. The parties reached an agreement to accelerate the preparation of an intergovernmental agreement on cooperation in this area, which will serve as a legal basis for joint projects.
And Rosatom says this is not a standalone move. The Russian firm is already conducting uranium exploration in Namibia. The plan is to complete exploration by 2026 and begin mining operations by 2029. Analysts say that timeline signals intent, as nuclear projects require decades-long commitments.
So, Namibia is not new to this game. As of 2026, Namibia is the third largest uranium producer on Earth. For decades, foreign firms extracted it, exported it, enriched it elsewhere, and sold it back to the world at exponential margins. So while Namibia watched this, such as ships leave its ports carrying unfinished power, Namibia lacked, nothing but resources, we'll say. It was conversion capacity. This agreement changes the math. So not because Russia is special, but because Namibia is done waiting. This isn't about mining, it's about domestic uranium processing, nuclear engineering pipelines for Namibian youth, reactor operation literacy, and the foundation for small modular reactors, or SMRs, that Namibia can eventually replicate independently. So Western analysts are calling this concerning. Of course they are, right? It's hard to lecture a continent that's literally holding the fuel for your power grids. They preferred Africa when we exported sunsets, not electrons, right? So Western headlines frame this as a Russian-influenced expansion. The suggestion is that Namibia is being led, not deciding. And the truth here is that Russia operates the largest nuclear export portfolio on Earth, right? Namibia didn't choose ideology. It chose experience and delivery speed. So the insight here is that true nuclear sovereignty isn't about who builds your first reactor. It's about who builds the second, the third, and the fourth without permission, right? So Russia may help lay foundations, right? But Africa must own the fuel cycle, the engineering knowledge, the regulatory spine, and the intellectual property, right? So giving Africa the right to mine uranium, but not the right to enrich is like giving a farmer land, but banning him from planting, right? So we talk a lot about Africa's resource curse, right? Or that's how it's framed. But here's the truth. The curse was never and has never been the resources. It was forced incompleteness. So enriched uranium is worth up to 2,500 more than raw, right? So when it's enriched, it's up to 2,500% more. And the difference isn't chemistry, it's just power, right? This move positions Namibia to create higher tier energy jobs, anchor Southern Africa's energy grid, and stabilize power supply for a struggling South African system. And eventually export electricity, not just minerals. So let's be clear, right? Enrichment is not the finish line, it's a checkpoint. The real prize is African designed reactors, African safety standards, African licensing frameworks, and eventually African nuclear IP. So the IMF is probably drafting a cautionary memo about this right now, right? Saying, oh no, Namibia, are you sure? Nuclear is very complicated. But yes, that's why we're learning it, not avoiding it. You can't industrialize a continent on vibes and solar pamphlets alone, right? So here's what comes next. The first thing is the Pelindaba pressure point, right? So African states will increasingly challenge the legal structures that froze nuclear capacity at the mining stage. And then secondly, Western alarm cycle. So expect a surge in environmental concerns or security risks and capacity warnings, right? The usual delay toolkit. And then we have to look at number 3, right? The African fuel shortage. So Namibia, Niger, and others are quietly positioning for a continental fuel ecosystem by Africans for Africans. So this isn't Cold War 2.0, this is infrastructure realism. And here's the real question, right? If Africa doesn't convert this momentum into independent nuclear engineering capacity, this deal becomes history, not destiny. So inshallah, the future, we're going to expose how the Treaty of Pelindaba paused African nuclear science for 30 years and how countries like Namibia are preparing to outgrow that. So Namibia didn't make a geopolitical statement this week. They made an engineering decision because in 2026, sovereignty isn't a flag. It's a functioning, self-owned reactor. So, mashallah, that's your African insight for today. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe because I'm Mr. Empower TV. We don't chase the headlines, we chase the truth behind them. This is Mr. Empower, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.